Hello everyone, my name is Keone, and in this video I wanted to talk all about the energy field, what it is and how you can use it to not only observe your thoughts, but change the world around you, which sounds a little bit supernatural when I say that, like you could change the world, woo, but it's true, you can. Um, right off the bat, I just wanted to explain that we exist much further outside of the physical realm that we see. You in one of my previous videos, I talked about this, but basically, the idea is that we exist in three major states here in this linear time experience. Um, we exist physically, spiritually, and emotionally, or mentally, I guess. Either way, it's kind of the same thing. Well, I guess spiritual and emotional is kind of the same thing. I call it spiritual because it helps me to remember that we are spiritual before we're physical. But my point is that there are a lot of things that exist outside of the realm of our physical understanding. There are things that exist that we can't see or touch, but they're there. Um, and I'm gonna pull up a picture right here. This is just an outline of the body. Uh, the idea is to acknowledge that this is the physical self, but the energy field, which is what this video is about, is this kind of it's not necessarily incorporeal, but it's a field of energy, as it's called, that uh, our thoughts, emotions, and our manifestations exist in. Um, basically, it's like this field that goes around them, you know. So here's your guy here, and it goes. Oh man, this is kind of funky. I'm trying to figure out how the camera. Regardless of it, I was gonna try and be like, "Hey, look, there's a bubble," but it didn't really work. But so the reason why this is important is you think that like you've got your arms and your hands and your body, but imagine that there's a big bubble around you, and when you think things, you have thoughts that are like, "Oh, this is this way." It doesn't just like poof incorporeal. It just isn't there. It literally like it exists inside this bubble. You have a thought, and people can see it in you. It's almost like so. Imagine, or I guess you don't have to imagine, but think of an instance where you were walking by somebody and you could just tell that they had some stuff on their mind. They're stressed. It was probably partly in due that you could tell in um, their body language. They might have been hunched over. They might have been like furrowing their brows, like, oh, she's got so many things on my mind. You know, and they're just like into it, but more so you can see and feel this kind of energy of like, oh, these things are stressful, they're tough, and it's almost like you want to have a certain amount of distance between that. If you're in a higher vibration, say you're happy, this person's stressed, you see this person is stressed, and there's like kind of two initial things. You're like, I want to help them, or like, I kind of don't want to be around that right now. But that's the energy field. You're feeling the thoughts and emotions that they're feeling in their energy field, because once you get into a certain distance and vicinity, they kind of mix together. They go, we. It's like a Venn diagram. You know, you have your emotions, you have your emotions, and they cross together. And in this middle, there's like, oh, look, emotions, mixed emotions. And this person can feel this person can feel, vice versa. And then it just kind of goes from there. You decide on actions, all sorts of things like that. The reason why this is important to understand is, first of all, our thoughts are not incorporeal. They exist. You can experience them, and pretty much, it's not like you can read minds, but it's more so that you can tell that people are thinking about certain things. It's like when you see somebody looking at their phone, they're like, they giggle or something. They're probably texting a romantic interest, or they read a meme that was funny. I don't know. But regardless, you can tell that they're enjoying it. And so, in that way, thoughts they do exist. They're controllable if we know that. Because sometimes we think that if thoughts are incorporeal, then how do I how do I oh, what's the word? Ah, how do I empty my mind, I guess? Calm my thoughts, get back control. Because sometimes our thoughts can be wild places. You'll see this, and you're like, man, what the heck? And you just think about it for the next 15 minutes, and you're like, I don't want to feel this way, but I thought about it, and it's there. Maybe you saw a tragedy on TV, or maybe you were scrolling through Facebook and you saw somebody was getting married, and you're still single, and you're like, another person getting married and I'm still single. And you're like, I don't want to feel this way, but I saw it and then I started thinking about it. Well, you can control your thoughts. And it's very interesting how you're able to do that. The key is to observe your thoughts. What this basically means is imagine that your thought is a bubble, like I guess a thought bubble. A thought bubble. You're like, ding, ding, ding. I'm thinking about this person, yay, and it just happens, right? Your thoughts just happen. They come to you. But to observe it, you don't attach any meaning to it. You say you have this thought about a job that you really want. And you're like, man, wouldn't it be so great to do this? Oh, I just can't wait to do this, or it would be so cool. And it's just sitting there, and now you've got attachments to it. You're like, man, this is my dream job. It'd be so great to get this money from it, and the attention I'd get from it, all sorts of things that you suddenly start thinking, and you just attached a meaning to the thought. So it just sticks around, it hangs there, and then everybody can see it. But this can also apply to other things, like say you have a very mean thought to yourself, like say, I'm not good enough. That thought comes up, it goes, beep, beep, I'm not good enough. And then you say like, oh, you're right, I'm not good enough. I messed up the other day. I totally tripped in front of my crush, or like I totally blew it in that job interview, or I've spent way too much money. I'm not good enough. And you just attach meaning to it, and then you just sit there all day in that area. That thought's like, whoa, look, I've got so many other thoughts attached to me. There's so much meaning to me. And it's like, uh, if you know what I'm talking about, Sims, the video game. Imagine that as you have this little in that game, when you kind of guide people, you make people, and then you guide their lives through different menial tasks. But in order to select one of them, or it's an indicator that you've selected one of them, is there's this little green crystal looking thingy. I don't know what it's called, uh, but it's a crystal thingy, and basically it changes color based on whether they need something. So it's like it's green if they're good, it's yellow if they're kind of struggling, and it's red if it's just like things have fallen apart. And so if you give so much meaning to this thought, like I'm not good enough, then it's like this thought that hangs over your head. It's like bing, 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 I'm not good enough, red alert, kind of, and it just like hangs out in your energy, and everybody can feel it. You know, Not only that, but you can see that in other people. It's what I was talking about before. You see it in their body language, you see it in their expression, the way that they're talking, maybe it's the way that they're sitting, whatever it is, you can just see it. You're like, man, that person's in red alert mode, or that person's kind of got a yellow light going on. Uh, so then that brings up the point of this uh, video, which is to understand, how do we observe our thoughts. So basically what you do is you let the thought happen, and then you don't attach anything to it. You just say, oh look, there's a thought. It said, I'm not good enough, but okay. And he's just like, okay, see you later. Flies away. That's basically how, I mean, I'll explain in a little bit more emphasis, but that's basically how it works. So imagine that a thought is a car that you're driving by um, on the road. So you're driving, you see this car. Maybe it's a car that you really like, or maybe it's a car you think that's really gross. Maybe it's got a weird paint job. It's like mustard yellow. Not to say that mustard yellow is a bad color on a car. I'm just giving an example. But so say this car is you're driving and you look over and you're like, hey, that's a nice car. And then you start thinking about this car, and then this car is like, man, you know, it's got nice tires, it's got a good engine. I don't know too much about cars, so I can't like say like, oh yeah, this piece and this piece. But so it drives by and you're like, wow, what a car. and you just give it significance. And then this other car passes by that you think is gross, and like, man, that's a nasty paint job on that car. Like, well, I wouldn't drive that. And you're still giving it significance. It's still driving by, you're paying attention to it, and you're like, oh, that car is gross. But then the third car drives by, and maybe it's just a car. It's like, okay, that's a car. It's just like that car over there, and that car over there. And it just drives by, turns maybe, and you just completely forget about it. It's like it didn't even happen. So uh, it's an analogy, basically. If our thoughts are like these cars, um, whether they're good or bad, it's all about the significance that you give them, because that is what will make them stick around. If you'll notice, you'll have a thought that you don't want to have. Say, uh, you have this thought that to do something mean. You're like, I don't want to be mean, but then you think about it like, oh, but if I did it, then I would feel satisfied. Or if I don't do it, then I won't get in trouble, kind of thing. And regardless of whether or not it's a positive or negative thing you attach to it, the mere attaching something to it gives it enough significance to stick around. So observe your thoughts. Watch it pass by. Watch it turn. Forget about it. And once you do this, you'll notice that thoughts are completely in your control. And because thoughts lead to action, that means actions are completely in control. That means you don't have to respond a certain way to anything. Nobody controls you. Nobody governs you except for yourself. There are three things you're always in control of: thoughts, your actions, and the significance you give to it. So if you give significance to these cars, these thoughts passing by, then obviously they're going to stick around. They're going to have influence. But if you let them just go, let them go. Let them take their right and left turns, disappear. And when you do that, you clear your mind. And you become completely capable of thinking about the things you want to. So say something comes up, you're like, yeah, how about this job opportunity? I want to try doing that. So you give significance to that. And then other thoughts come in, it's like, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't have experience in it. And then you attach these thoughts and they plug into this one, and then suddenly this one's not as great anymore because it's being influenced by these other thoughts. So instead, just have this, and then you have this thought like, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I don't have experience, and just let them drive by. Take their turns, let them go, and hang on to this one. Hang on to the ones that make a good influence on your life, because those are the ones that will change your life to be what you want it to be. So with that, I hope that this video blows your mind. I don't know. I hope that you're able to get something out of this, because I really wanted to share this, because I've noticed a big increase in people feeling like they can't control themselves. All the time we get told that we can't control ourselves, like, oh, I'm addicted to this, I'm diagnosed with this, and I just don't have control of my life, and it's just horrible, and I just have to succumb to the natural way of things, be a cog in the machine of society. That kind of sounds a little bit anarchist, and that's not the intention. But don't lose sight of who you really are. Don't lose sight of the thoughts that you really want to entertain, because you have complete control of them. So with that, I hope that you have a good rest of your day at whatever interval that might be in, and I will see you next time.